Well, good afternoon. This is Mike Holt, and this is the Premier Power Show. And I have a couple guests with us. This is our very first program out of 13 programs. We'll see what happens after we go for a while. And the owner of Premier Power Incorporated is Michael Holt. If you want to just say hi there, Michael.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm glad to be here.
All right. And we also have my daughter, and she's a Holt, a Belinda Holt, but right now she's a Pinto for many years. And so you're wondering why on an electrical show do we have a woman here? And this is my daughter, Belinda. Belinda, you want to say hi?
Hello, happy to be here.
Do you have any clue why you're on this show?
I figured as we go along, we'll figure it out.
That's exactly what's going to happen. The Premier Power Show is about electrical safety, and that's what we're looking for. And what we'd like to do is consider some of the things we're going to talk about. If you get a chance, there's a couple little notes I'd like you to make. So if you're in a car, you might not be able to make this right now, but might be something you can think about listening to us next Thursday at 1 o'clock. And those that are home, if you get a chance to get a pencil, piece of paper, if you feel compelled as we go along, you might want to make some notes. One is, if you want to know more about myself, I'm Mike Holt, and my website is MikeHolt.com. I'm an electrical expert on electrical power. Premier Power Incorporated is owned by Michael Holt, which is my son. He's a Lake County electrical contractor focusing on that. Belinda Pinto, my daughter, she's my oldest daughter of 7 children, and she lives, of course, in Lake County, and we all love Lake County. She is the operations director of Mike Holt Enterprises, and Mike Holt Enterprises is an organization dealing with electrical safety and training. So Belinda has a lot of experience on the peripheral of electricity and a lot of questions, and Belinda is a very safety-minded kind of person. She's always worried about things. Is this safe? Is that not safe? And so I think Belinda's going to bring a perspective of bringing in some questions. All right, I think the first thing we're going to do, because this is our first show, we're not sure exactly how it's all going to go, but let's talk about some electrical safety issues. Belinda, I think you had a couple questions. And what I'd like you to do is call My 790 AM Radio. Do us a favor, give us a call at 352-787-9523. And if you do call in, as you call in, we're going to take your name and information, and we're going to be able to give you an opportunity to possibly get a free home safety inspection. So think about it. Maybe there's something you have a question on, you're wondering about something, solar power, energy-saving devices, electrical safety, electric cars, anything to do with electrical power, we should be able to at least get you started. And if we don't have the answer right now, we're going to be honest about that. We'll pick it up, we'll do some research, and then next Thursday, we'll make sure to give you the answer.
I do have a question, actually.
Okay.
We'll start right off with that. You said that they would qualify those people that call in for, you said did you call it a home safety inspection?
Yes, a home safety inspection.
Could you tell me a little bit about what that is?
If you get a chance to go to PremierPowerInc.com, if you go under important information, there's a lot of information, a lot of links about electrical safety in general. And there's a specific one with about 5 or 6 links on home electrical inspection and safety. There's a lot of different issues. Smoke detectors, electrical cords, appliances, frayed cords. Maybe there might be some receptacles. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. And what happens with electrical wiring is that people consider it a mechanical thing. And anything mechanical will break over time. And as you use it more, the frequency of it breaking, and sometimes even not using something is not good. I think we all recognize you want to give it at least a little activity with nothing at all. So it's difficult to explain right now every single thing, but it takes about an hour to 2 hours, depending upon the house, depending on the application. And what's involved is you got to take off every single panel, look the wiring inside the panel. There's electrical instruments that are used that plug into every single receptacle, so you're going to have to move the appliances out, plug in the device, and what it does is it places a load. I know I'm going to use some terms, and Belinda, you're on here, and you're the non-electrician, so you have to help us. So when I use terms, and then Michael jumps in and uses terms. So you plug into a receptacle, and then you press a button, and this device creates a load like an iron.
So what you're saying is the purpose of the home safety electrical inspection is to come into our homes and see if it's electrically safe.
Well, one visualization, of course, is you take a cover off and you look in there and you see that a breaker is Michael, you've seen it. Give us some examples where you've been in houses and you've seen some problems.
Oh, we've come into several situations where we open up the panels, and from the outside, it looks perfectly fine. There's no issues at all, but there's some noises, and the homeowner have come to our attention that we hear some fraying, some crackling, and some noises. So we further our analysis or our inspection, and we open up the panel, and it is a disaster. You have the bus with all the breakers that plug into it is shorted, worn out over time, and created a huge problem. We had to replace the panel. So it is important.
Why is that important? The shorted. Why does that have to be replaced? Is that dangerous?
Oh yeah, loose
no-
connections create heat, and so it's internal with the equipment. It's not a solid connection. And
See, electricity, when it moves, it creates heat. That's how you have an iron. That's how you have an electric stove. It's all a matter of actually moving electrons, and it creates heat. The problem is that if you have heat in locations where it's not supposed to be, on receptacles, if you put your hand on a switch and you notice that it's really warm, well, that's not normal unless it's a dimmer. But still, so heat fires.
I'm going to cut you in real quick. I was just actually on a project about a month ago or so where the homeowner contacted us and they had no power to half of the house. So they had half of the house had no power. It actually had been like this for years. And so we were there to do another issue and resolve another problem. And during my install for other scopes of work, I said, listen, I'm going to go ahead and include a whole safety check for you while I'm here just to verify everything's working properly. And they said, oh, well, half the house isn't working.
Well, hold on a second. You said, well, that makes it even half easier, right?
right. It's half the work. That's right. Exactly right. Half the work. So I get in there and I go through and look at all the outlets and I move a piece of furniture and I see an outlet that's burnt and sharded and had caught on fire. And they had no clue for about 3 to 4 years. They had no power in this certain bedroom. And it was an improper connection or a stab-in type device where the wires were used in a wiring method that's not normal to today's market.
Let me explain what Michael's saying. When you go to a receptacle, if you get a chance, you go to Home Depot or you go to Lowe's or any Ace Hardware. And if you look at receptacles, you'll see that they have screws on the side or switches.
Right.
And then you also have the opportunity to push the wires through like little holes. So just go to Home Depot, pick up a switch and a receptacle, look in the back, and you'll see there's holes in the back. Now,
Where the wires go into.
Where the wires go in. And what it does is it makes it a little easier because you just strip the insulation, push it in.
Got it.
But the problem is that there's a higher contact point there. Resistance.
Right.
It causes heat. So the best approach would be to take the wire, put it under a screw and turn, but it takes more time. It takes more mechanical skills in order to achieve that.
And all the things we're talking about, I post on a regular basis on my Facebook fan page, PremierPowerInc.com. We have a link to our Facebook fan page. I put these photos on there, little deep, brief descriptions of what happened, the situation. So, majority of things that goes on, and we're going to talk about here, I will put on my Facebook as well. That way, the viewers and my fans can view it as well.
So what I hear you saying is that when you went to this house, you went for one purpose. But because you did this inspection, you were able to identify another problem. Now, when you say that was burnt out, it sounds like that was actually a risk for fire.
Oh, absolutely. It was at one point a fire, and it was absolutely visual. You can see it 100%. This outlet is sharded and burnt, and it solved the problem, and we ensured safety. So we go above the standard to just go through.
Well, and you know what, this is a great point, because that's what I love about you being here. There are two hazards with electricity, two primary hazards. Number one is fire. Number two is an electric shock. And we'll be talking both of those in the next 13 weeks as we come up with specific issues inside here. And so anytime you have loose connections, what you're going to have is, and it's going to create heat. And, it gets 1 degree warmer today than tomorrow. Than yesterday. And, as time goes by, electrical fires are generally not caused like something that just happened today. This is something that's been building accumulating, because the heat has to keep building. And when the heat starts building, what it does is starts degrading the materials. So at one time, it could have taken that heat, but as you go 5 years or 10 years or some period of time, it could be even a year or less, depending upon how much heat, then what it does is it breaks the components down, then what the insulating values previously were are no longer there, and then ultimately, everything burns, even steel burns, concrete burns. It's just a matter of getting it to the temperature that it will ignite. And those are the issues that we're concerned about, and that's what we want to take off on this particular program. And we'd like you to give us a call at My 790 AM at 352-787-9523. Call us right now. We'd love to hear your questions. Give us some more information that we can help you help yourself and make it safer for everybody.
And welcome back to the Premier Power Show. Mike, Belinda, we have a caller. We have David from Tavares is on the phone, and he has a question for you. Go ahead, David.
I have a house that's about 80 years old and hasn't seen an electrician in probably about 30 years. How often should you have somebody come in just to do an inspection?
Well, without a doubt, for a fact, you are the number one candidate that should have a home inspection.
Why is that?
80 years old. I mean, everything has a life and a life expectancy. It doesn't matter what it's going to be. And it doesn't mean, however, that you have any problems. But here's probably what's happened over the 80 years. The NFPA, NFPA.org, the National Fire Protection Association, has done a research study on old homes to find out, what happens to the wiring of houses such as what you have. And what they found is this. Generally, if nobody has touched it and it was installed properly originally and it was done correctly, you're probably okay.
Okay.
The problems are that probably in the last 80 years, somebody has done something electrical to the house. And even if they haven't, I would strongly suggest you have a qualified electrical contractor come in with the right tools or with the right knowledge. It doesn't cost that much. It doesn't take that much time, maybe just a couple hours, and then give you a kind of little checkup and say, yeah, you're fine. And Dave, the most important thing I communicate here is this is electricity, fire, electric shock. It's your family. It would be, and I'm not trying to sell you something, and I apologize if it comes across that way. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to be honest that it is something that you really should be looked at.
Also, I wanted to jump in. You said the NFPA, and one of the things that I didn't understand before I worked with the company is the National Fire Protection Association writes the National Electric Code. And the reason is because of the fires that happen because of faulty wiring, correct?
Yes. Dave, you know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what.
Okay.
I'm going to take your name, and we're going to save it. And if we're going to take the total number of callers that come in today, and we're going to do a little lottery at the end of the game here.
All right.
And if you're the only one that calls, then Premier Power Incorporated, PremierPowerInc.com, Mike Holt that you'll see on the billboards and all over the trucks, he will personally go to your house and do that inspection at no charge.
Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to the rest of the show. I know nothing about electric, so this is good information for me.
And we love you because of that.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dave, for calling in.
Bye.
All right. So let's just kind of review that. We are My 790 AM, and its number is 352-787-9523. And you maybe could get a free home inspection. Of course, Dave is there hoping that you don't call in. But if you do call in, we'll be glad here to answer some of your questions and get in specifics. And Dave, by the way, if you want to call back in, I mean, that gets you two names in the, you know what I mean? You got a better chance of winning that way. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue on. Belinda, do you have anything else that I mean, you're our consumer here that's looking out for the people.
You know, what are some other things, that was a great question, is when do you have a home inspection? Does the house have to be 8 years old for it to be needed? Or is it, you know, I know that people have home inspections when they buy houses, and I know that for myself, I've always been shocked at how many problems there are that those people were living with. So maybe, is this something we should do every 5 years, every few years?
Oh, Gator Mike?
I just had a quick question here. Belinda, you realize you said you were shocked. I'm sorry.
That's a good point. You picked that up on there.
Continue with the show.
Well, Michael, when have you done home inspections? So let's talk about the real practical things here.
They actually mirrored the time of a 4-point inspection with a new homeowner, new property moving in. So that's really the inquiries that we've gotten in for new properties and such. Other schedules that we've come out there for homeowners have been just general time. They've been concerned. They have an older house, for example, like Dave has an older house, and you know he hears it, and someone hears about it. So it's just they come and they go.
Well, you know what? Go ahead.
What are some signs that would be happening in my house that would say, you know what, maybe I should have this inspected? Because I think that people a lot of times have houses and they live with things. It's been like that forever. The lights have always flickered. You know, when do you do that?
Let me give you some really big deals.
Okay.
If you ever feel a tingle, I feel a tingle. That is a situation that the circumstances are such that you're not getting killed because of some unique circumstances. But if you just slightly change the circumstance, you happen to take your shoes off.
To be electrocuted?
And then you could be killed. That would be one. So if you ever feel a tingle, like I think I feel a tingle there. Now, women are more sensitive to men. And that's not really in reality emotionally, but
That's
at least
a whole other show.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's a whole other program that we might even get into. But anyways, women are more sensitive to men because they put lotions on the hand. Mm-hmm. They moisturize themselves, and so their skin resistance is higher. And resistance is what opposes electric current flow. So a woman would feel a tingle and tell her husband, hey, I have to tell you a story. This is one guy, he calls me up and he tells me about he's getting shocked when he puts his hand in a hot tub. He says, you know what happened, Mike? He goes, I put my hand in a hot tub and I got shocked. He goes, I couldn't believe it. I said, what'd you do? He said, well, I called my wife. I said, come over here. Put your hand in the hot tub. So she puts her hand in a hot tub. She gets shocked. She goes, I just got shocked. He goes, I know I did too. And she smacked me. So a woman will notice tingles, and a guy would do the same situation. He'll touch the washing machine and has his shoes off and do the same thing. You know, of course, we think women are crazy. You know what I mean?
Right,
so he's
right,
like, "Oh, you're just crazy."
We just always know what's going on.
Exactly. Well, the guys know what's really going on, right?
Mike, I just need to ask you something.
Yes, sir.
If you're ever out with me and you say, wow, I got a little shock, do this, I'm not doing that. I'm going to take your word for it. I'm going to say, no, okay, I believe you. You got shocked.
So a tingle. Mm-hmm. And some children will sense it because their contact resistance is lower when they're small. It's mass. The larger the person mass, the
less they'll notice it.
Yeah, because of it has to do with volume.
Okay.
So smaller people, women, children, elderly people, the ones that are most sensitive are the ones are going to detect it. So if somebody says I'm feeling a tingle, immediately you need to call. Hopefully call Premier Power Incorporated. If not, call somebody. The second thing is you smell something that just smells kind of like electrical fire. Okay. You're sensing something. And women are incredibly amazing and they're intuitive. Something is different. You know, a guy will go in there and he'll notice the light, not even notice the light, and a woman will say, well, that light's not working. Like, it never worked. Well, yeah, it did work. You know what I mean? So lights flickering, a little like, wow, that light just kind of like made it like a little flicker. You know, like a guy's like, I never noticed it. A woman's like, well, it's flickering. So women,
those are all indicators.
Anything where the lights are not now the problem is this: compact fluorescent fixtures, LED fixtures will never blink.
When you say LED, what do you mean by that?
These are LED. Oh, see, these are
light emitting diodes.
Thank you. Hey, I'm the expert here.
I'm here to help you out. I'm here to make you look good.
Okay, that's your job. Exactly. Light emitting diode. So it's another form of lighting. LEDs. You'll go in Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, anywhere else like that. You'll see this is a new type of lighting. It's very, very expensive.
Are those the ones that look like fluorescents? Like they look like neon almost? They're
yes,
so bright.
like a little neon. The curly ones, that's compact fluorescent. Okay, those are those screw ones, compact. Neon, I mean, LEDs are very, very new. Your regular Edison-based light bulb, your regular
like the old style light bulbs.
Those will flicker.
Okay.
And once you replace those with newer type of light fixtures, you won't notice that something is going on. So you smell something, you touch something, it's warm. Something is not working. A circuit doesn't work.
Breaker's tripping.
A breaker's tripping.
Right
Perfect.
there. And that's a very common inquiry. So yeah.
Why would the breaker trip? It isn't
repeatedly.
like
don't just deal with it.
Yeah, it isn't
Call
like
an expert.
oh wow, no. A breaker trips, a fuse blows because there is an absolute problem,
Right.
and so therefore you have to have the right tools, the right instruments, and then you gotta go there and you gotta troubleshoot it, and you gotta find out, okay, well, what's the problem? And by the way, let me just make a couple commercial breaks here. My 790 AM is the radio station we're on. The phone number here is 352-787-9523. Dave, it's looking really good for you, buddy. Okay? So if you want to call in with a question, now is the time to call in with a question. Go to PremierPowerInc.com. Go to important information links. And, of course, the phone number there, and the phone number for Premier Power, and we haven't given it to you really, is 352-978-7015. The owner is Michael Holt. It's my son. And he'll be there to help you. You can just call him up and just ask him. So if you don't want to be comfortable on the radio station call up, just give Michael a call directly and say, hey, Mike, I heard you on the radio station here, and I'm just concerned about something. He'll give you the scoop. All right, we want to thank you again. It went really, really quickly. We'll be back next Thursday at 1 o'clock. Go to PremierPowerInc.com. Go to important links. Get your questions. Think about it. Give us a call. Dave, you are a lucky boy.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next Thursday at 1 o'clock on My 790 AM.